Being comfortable in your own skin is an interesting idea. And we often mistake the fact that when we're around people that we don't feel comfortable around, maybe socially, or we have preconceived judgments around who they are, and we just don't feel easy around them, we don't feel comfortable. And we often forget that that's not them making us feel like that. Something inside us is eliciting that response. And so it's often a reflection of who we are and not who they are. And the thing is with projection, it sticks for a reason. So when you have a feeling about someone, or you have ideas around who they are, and you have like strong emotions, often there's a reason why that emotion sticks onto them, or that projection sticks onto them. It's because they do probably embody certain characteristics, and they kind of are like that projection. But most of the time, and most of the intensity of the feelings and the uncomfortableness and the awkwardness comes from within you. And it's a story, it's a narrative, it's a part of your shadow that you throw onto someone else, and they represent an idea for you. They represent a person. They represent something that is part of the fabric of who you are. And it's the whole idea of projection in Jungian psychology, like what sits in the shadow needs to find its way out into the world, so it gets projected onto others. And uncomfortableness and certain feelings around people and experiences that you have when you interact are such interesting, enlightening scenarios that can really awake you to who you are. And they're the best, for me, one of the best forms of self-reflection, one of the best forms of integration and understanding of who you are comes from understanding your relationship with others and how other people make you feel. So, for example, I was around someone the other day, and I got this real intense feeling of like he was like trying to be dominant, trying to like portray himself as a man, like trying very hard to be like this confident, self-assured, like the person in the room that owned everything. And it made me feel like quite uneasy. And then I sat back and realised that this is something that I do. I used to be, and sometimes still am, a bit insecure about who I am as a person and my responsibility as a man, as a masculine person. And so I used to have to like portray something I'm not to people. I'd have to put it on, and I'd act really cocky and confident and try and sway my shoulders back and try and be this outwards, extroverted, confident, masculine man. And when I seen this person doing it, it made me feel really uneasy, like I wasn't very comfortable around him. And I realised that, yeah, he was doing that, and there was probably parts of him that was doing that. But why it made me feel so uncomfortable is because it's a part of me that I do that I don't necessarily like about myself, and I think it takes me further away from being a confident masculine man. And I just kind of watched him, and I was like, yeah, that's making me feel a little bit uneasy. It's making me feel a little bit out of place. Like it shows something within you, and because the projection comes from the shadow, which is the part of your unconscious, when your ego sees it, whatever's not in the ego's ideal gets chucked into the back of your subconscious, back into the shadow. So when your ego like looks at that person and sees parts of your psyche, it doesn't realize it's parts of you. It just sees parts of what that person's doing and just hates it because it goes against what the ego thinks it is, what the personality thinks it is. And that's just a small lens of what the ego is. In terms of the whole subconscious, the whole part of your psyche is like it's like the ocean, and your ego is just a little boat bobbing on the ocean along it. And so when you watch people and you get really strong responses, it's like they're showing you and reflecting parts of your psyche that your ego's not aware of. And why that increases and creates such a response in you is because your ego's like, it hates it because it goes against who it thinks it is. But it's that, again, the notion of who you actually are versus who you think you are. And who you think you are, your ego ideal, this narrative, a persona, is only a small, minute part of the whole personality of what makes you you. And so what does it mean to then feel comfortable in them situations and to watch them and observe them and use them as self-reflection? Because it can be your biggest tool of growth. It can be your biggest avenue of learning about yourself. And the best way I can think about this, the best thing that has taught me over the last year, is being in a relationship. Being in a relationship in a way has revealed far more about myself than I knew was there. And I always remember my girlfriend saying something really interesting. It was like, I know far more of you than what you think. And what you think and who you think you are really like shades the lens of your perception, and you just see the world through who you think you are. But other people actually see the unconscious actions that you do and the habits and the behaviors and how you interact. Like, people see through the facade quite a bit, and they see the whole a lot more than what you do. And sometimes have a very limited perspective of who we are. And when you're in a relationship and you end up being in a dialogue often with someone that's very close to you and you're intimate with, which makes it even more intense, like, it reveals so much about about the subconscious, about who you are, the greater self. And it's a great method. It's a great vehicle for actualization and learning about yourself. It's just a fascinating process to go through. And that's why you need to be out in the world and be of someone of a worldly person, and to have relationships, because people who shy away from making friends and shy away from putting themselves out there in uncomfortable situations and being out in the world, you're not having the world test your identity. You're not having the world reveal things about yourself. You're just hiding in your room. You're just hiding in your box of comfort. If you see the same people frequently over and over again, if you have the same conversations, if you go to the same places, if you never push yourself out of your box of reference, if you don't put yourself out there to be in a relationship, if you don't put yourself out there to like do things that make you uncomfortable, then you're never revealing more about yourself, and you're just solidifying this idea of who you think you are, and it's becoming very like stale and very stuck. And for me, when you go out in the world, you're in relation with not just the world but the people of the world. Human life is interaction, and with interaction you reveal so much about yourself. You learn so much about yourself, and it's the one thing I think that young men don't do enough, which is just go out in the world and speak to people and have conversations with people and just be a worldly person. Stop living up here so much. Stop living in your phone dissociated. Like, go in the world and dance with it and interact with it and play with it, and you build relationships, lose relationships, be in a relationship, do the things that reveal things about you and and help life move on, and you learn from them things, the human things. Be human. You don't need to be an AI. You don't need to be a robot. You don't need to be a super productive machine. You need to be someone of the world who's learning things and interacting with it. Interesting. Right, thank you very much for listening, people. I hope that was helpful. That's just my thoughts for today. Just my daily thoughts and these daily videos I'm doing. And I'll see you all when I see you all.